Secret friends, unite!
Welcome to the Secret Friends Unite podcast, episode 383. This is your guide to the geek side. And folks, by the way, we are a podcast network, so check out all our podcasts. We got Code 47, which is all about Star Trek. We've got Holocron Chronicles, the Holochronicles, all about Star Wars. We've got Co-op Mode, all about video games, and you've got this podcast, which is all about things of geek, Secret Friends Unite. We also have a YouTube page, which will now have a custom URL if we can figure out how to do that. But that is it for the plugs, and we're going to introduce our hosts. I'm Todd Oxtra, joined by Charlie Carden, and also joined by Miss Katie, joining us again.
Hello again.
Yes. The esteemed Katie, who has all but taken over Secret Friends as the fifth Beatle, as it were. Or fourth Beatle, sixth Beatle? I don't know, something like that.
I don't know. There's Beatles and there's numbers.
Beatle numbers. Oh, my goodness. So yes. Here we are, 4th of July weekend for those who celebrate here in the United States of America. How's everybody feeling?
Good. I have read so many comics this weekend.
It was
this week.
Yes, it was a step up, and we'll be talking about that later. But speaking of a comic that we'll probably skip because maybe it was a little ahead of its time / before its time, is this week's featured comic. This would be Action Comics number 383 from December of 1969. Does Superman pick the killer costume or the ultra uniform? So Superman standing there, he's got a couple of articles of clothing that are speaking to him with gesticulations with their arms. They're like, the one on the left says, "Hear me, Superman, I will give you powers beyond your wildest dreams." And the one on the right says, "No, Superman, that costume would destroy you. Wear me." That's not much of a pitch. I mean, I'm in sales. That's not a pitch. And
it's that like when you've got like your doppelganger and he's always saying, "Oh, don't, he'll kill you." And they're always
right.
That's the biggest trope of all. Like, which one do you kill?
Well, it's like we're watching. Oh, like with the two Kirks, like, no, shoot him. And I must choose one of these uniforms now, is his thought bubble. How do I know which one is lying? I got to be honest with you, much like with all of these exposition heavy DC comics from the 50s and the 60s, I don't care. I don't know. I hope it does kill him. Let's see, because you know what? It'll just turn around and, that was Superman of Earth 1674, and it just didn't end up working out. So moving on. Maybe every one of these issues is a different world in their multiverse, so it doesn't really matter.
Every episode is kind of like a separate universe, yeah. So it's like,
exactly.
You could have all these issues. So Katie, which outfit would you choose?
It's the makeover scene. Come on, every good rom-com has to have the makeover scene.
Right, yeah, a montage where they're dressed. Yeah. One girl walks out and her friend goes, "No."
Yeah, exactly. Batman and Wonder Woman are sitting there, thumbs down,
There's always a leather, then there's always an all-jean outfit. It doesn't work. You got plaid stripes, boots. So, Katie, which would you choose? The purple and orange or the green with brown?
The green with brown is giving me slight, commie vibes. Like, it's feeling a little maybe Third Reich. Just saying.
It's got those shoulder pads that are on the outside.
I guess not communist fascism dressed as communism. That's what it's given me.
Fascism fashion? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Now, the one on the left, though, however, that coral and fuchsia with the neon pink belt, someone did not pick their color themes very well. That is kind of clashy. So I'd say burn them both.
Yes.
No, it's the boots have pockets. The boots have pockets.
Okay,
Ooh.
You know what? I never get pockets in my outfits, so I'm taking that one by default.
That's very ahead of it.
Rit dye. I'll
just
change
like kangaroos.
The pants and the gloves.
And
remember kangaroos, Charlie? The little zipper pockets on your tennis shoes.
That's very ahead of its time because this was the 60s. It wasn't until the 90s that we got the Rob Liefeld renovation with all the pouches.
Or the 80s with kangaroos pouches on your shoes, which I loved as a kid. And I had a pair. Oh well.
Absolutely.
Oh well. You know what? You decide which fashion fits you, but one will kill you, one will give you all your wishes. So choose wisely, folks. It's like the cup from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Did you choose wisely? Yeah, exactly. But you know what? We're going to choose wisely. We're going to go to our gal pal, our senior news correspondent. So without further delay, Madam Webb, take it away.
Now it's time for Madam Webb's rumors and news. Take it away, boys.
Thank you, Madam Webb. We've got your resurgence plan coming, Madam Webb. Charlie and I have talked about this, just filled Katie in on this. And, you know, we know you were the inspiration for the Madam Puppet, and we might as well take that all the way in. There's a Madam Webb movie coming up. We've seen it. It's coming. So you know what? We're going to make you the star of Secret Friends Unite. A logo is coming. There's going to be T-shirts and everything. There's going to be a catchphrase. Exactly. She's been waiting 200 years for this, and it's coming. So with that, more information to come. So with that, though, we're going to dig into the news that Madam Webb brought us this week. And the first one, Charlie, is all about one of the mainstays of the Marvel Universe finally emerging in the MCU.
It's a little fishy. Wink, admittedly. But yeah, Black Panther 2 merchandise. And I'm going to say, even without reading this, it's always Lego. It's always Lego that's leaking that, like, here's a Lego set or whatever. And you got to keep in mind that Black Panther 2 or Wakanda Forever is dropping in November. I'm finally starting to see the big standees in the movie theater. So it's like that part of the promo is happening. But I got to imagine with San Diego Comic-Con being middle of this month, that we're going to see a trailer at that time. It would be absurd if we didn't. But yes, Namor, the first mutant, one of Marvel Comics' very earliest characters, is being played by an actor whose name I'm going to kill, Tenoch Huerta, who is not a performer.
Good job, Charlie.
Thanks. I tried. I didn't really try. I just read what I saw. He's going to be the Submariner, and again, he was Marvel's first mutant. He's been a heritage character that's been around since the 1930s or 40s. Basically, the same origin as Aquaman. He has a human parent, and he has a fish water dwelling other parent. I think it's the reverse. With Aquaman, it was the mother was the fish person and the father was the human, and so I think this is backwards.
Oh, I thought you're like a reverse fish person, where it's like fish head with like body legs, like real human legs. That would be weird.
Yeah, well, they did it on, they did it on Family Guy. So, but anyway, yeah, it's imagine that he is going to be probably some kind of an anti-hero or somebody that you'll see a turn, because Namor has always been kind of an obnoxious character in general. He was a member of the Avengers in the 1980s during that run with Roger Stern, which is right when I started reading the title. So in the late 260s, 270s, on the way until the team broke up not long after that, because of Todd's all-time favorite mystic character. That's right, I'm talking about Dr. Druid. Todd, tell him about how much you love Dr. Druid. You can't.
Dr. Druid, he's like a guy. He's like Bill and Ted, the dad who married the mom. He's kind of like that guy he marries someone way too young and it goes badly for him. Yeah, that's right. Dr. Druid.
Exactly correct. But anyway, I think this is cool. Oh, and as you keep scrolling, there is a photo of him, and he's quite the male specimen. Good looking fella, though it almost looks like it's a drawing, but whatever. Does he have earrings, or are those like big green sideburns? I can't quite tell.
I'm not sure those are
like earrings. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's got nose piercings and things like that. And they are going more towards the South American feel, which is kind of cool, because you think about that, the headdress and everything they show in here. And I love that. I mean, because Atlantis nobody knows where it is. I mean, unless somebody's got a map. It's
under the water, so it claims no nationality. It claims no ethnicity. They're not really it. They're a whole nother continent. So they're going to be what they're going to be. You couldn't imagine that they would have a skin color of any kind because they're from under the water. You think that they'd just be milk white because they are in the complete absence.
Well, I like it being mixed with almost like some of the either Aztec or Mayan cultures.
Yeah,
that's really cool. It's a different look, and I like that, and it's really cool. Versus Namor, he always kind of looked like a Nazi. He always kind of looked a little bit like
Spock, because with the pointed ears and big eyebrows. So, but whatever. But this is cool. I love this. And again, he was Marvel's first mutant, and again, mutants are becoming a thing, or they will.
Well, and he's a king, right? So you've got the king of Wakanda, you've got the king of Atlantis, the sea, the land. So I don't know, Katie does. I mean, the word Namor, you only think of the guy in a Speedo with feathers on his feet. Does Namor mean anything to you?
Just a little bit, because he showed up in the Captain Marvel run, but he was in that one. He was the son of Enchantress and the Atlantean King.
Okay.
Well, okay.
Yeah. So that was the one, like, that was, I think, like the 2019 run.
Okay.
So I like, because he definitely did have Spock vibes at that point. Definitely narcissist, kind of, evil do-gooder, or evil dude, kind of very self-involved. I like that they're grounding Atlantis more and like taking the time to give it a place in the world, instead of just being like, it is off the coast in the Atlantic Ocean somewhere, and so everybody just is going to be kind of generic looking, and their culture is kind of generic looking. Where like having these Mayan influences is really, really cool, and I think it's going to look really awesome. So
I dig it. So yes, this drops in November of this year. So this is our next Marvel film after Thor: Love and Thunder, which we're going to talk about in our next episode.
I'm so excited.
What is on the horizon? What is on the horizon for? What's the kind of first? What's on tap for 2023 for the MCU as far as what's on the
I think the Marvels is the next movie after Black Panther.
So like first quarter of next year. Okay.
I think it is like a February, which is great. It's a great time for a movie because nothing is really happening in February. Like Black Panther happened in February, and that movie blew up. So bring us some cool characters that we want to see.
I love it. All right, moving on. What's next?
Yes, so we've got Amazon Prime has got a new series based on a comic book coming out, which will seem similar to another show that is on Netflix right now, which is Stranger Things. And that is Paper Girls. And Paper Girls is set in the 80s. It was based on a series, and I think it may still be going on, by Brian K. Vaughan and Cliff Chang. It's a great book. I love Brian K. Vaughan. He's awesome. And it's about these paper girls in the 80s. It does really feels like the 80s. And they are essentially experiencing an alien type of presence. And it has that 80s vibe. It's very cool. So I would hate people to think that this series is based off Stranger Things. It's not. It was actually, it came out the same time Stranger Things did. So they're just, sometimes these things come out at the same time. It's like the two volcano films, the two, comet films. It's like, it seems like ideas follow each other for some reason, but it's really cool. And this one's going to deal with time travel, which is very cool, which there is a teaser now that's coming out for this, which we see that essentially the girls, there's 4 of them, have time traveled and they run into their future selves, which I think is awesome. It's going to really create some interesting dynamics with, yourself and your future self. And just imagine, what would you tell your future self? Would you even encounter your future self and tell them anything, or just try to avoid them and not avoid the person you are today?
My future self would probably step in front of a bus if I told him half of the shit that I've been through in the last, 40 years or 30 years. Like, oh my God, are you insane? I mean, so many of the dumb things I've done. So yeah, but I would still do it because you know what? That little punk needs a talking to, even if it creates a separate universe, which according to Marvel it would. So it would be another dimension of the multiverse. So it's just too much to think about.
Yeah, I mean, the trailer looked really good, and so I'm excited to see how it plays out and how. I mean, it was a really dynamic comic. It was very enjoyable, so I'm excited to see what happens when it hits the screen.
Yeah, it's all unknowns playing the young actresses, but we do have a known who's an adult, which is Ali Wong. Ali Wong is awesome.
She's awesome.
Comic.
Yeah, serious. Yeah, she. I've watched a couple of her clips, even what you see on Netflix, and she's just very raunchy comic, which is just right up my alleyway.
Well, and she also wrote for Fresh Off the Boat as well.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Great series. Yeah, it's a great series, and it's got some great people in it, and it's doing. Yeah. It's like the Goldbergs did, but actually kept it a little bit more real, which is always good. So,
keeping it real.
This is really good. Amazon Prime. It's really, they're doing some great. They are not as, they don't put as much content out there. What they do put out there typically seems to land very strongly, which is great. They're going over quality over quantity. So this is going to probably not going to get, if you have Amazon, which I think most people do, this won't get absorbed by other things happening. It'll be like, it'll get a lot of publicity. It'll have a lot of time out there, and Amazon does weekly drops as well, which means it won't be like after 1 week you'll forget about this. They'll be they'll be talking about it, which is great. Which I feel like so many shows these days on Netflix and other shows that binge drop, you move on, and it's like hopefully enough people watched it and it gets renewed.
Right, just goes poof because you just don't know. So yeah.
I think it's on Comixology, so you can read it in advance and check it out there.
Cool. All right. Well, Todd, I popped this one out there today for you because you're not a Star Wars lover. We know that, but you're very excited about
No.
project.
I'm not a lover of the prequel era. It's the prequel era. I like the sequels. I like the sequel trilogy. I like the original trilogy. I detest the prequel era. But Katie, unfortunately, the prequel era is 85% of Star Wars. Katie, so I guess that's where I'm stuck.
You're hearing him defending his religion right now. But anyway.
I mean, that's absolutely true. The post prequel era is like 15% of Star Wars. So if I have to I'd have to like the prequel era to say I'm a Star Wars fan, I guess. So because why not?
But at any rate, what's going on right now is what we've been Taika Waititi and his film is blah, blah, blah. And then he did go on record. Obviously, he's doing press for Thor Love and Thunder, which is his film that's coming out this week. But he said that his film, he indicates his film won't be greenlit until he finishes writing his script. Which was news to me.
That makes sense. I mean, I'm greenlighting your movie that has no script.
But, it was one of the, it's been talked about so much. So you just really, I was kind of left to think that this was just a foregone conclusion that this was going on. But, and this is also supposed to come out in like 18 months, which
the thing is that it wasn't that Kennedy said that it was greenlit. She said it was going to be released in 2023. And Katie was like, no, there's not even a script yet. I haven't finished it yet. No. Like that would be that they're practically right. Like they're in the middle of shooting at this point, I would imagine, if they're planning 2023.
Right. Yeah.
They have time for all of the post-production and everything. So like that was just a hot mess. She should have not said anything.
Well, right.
You guys are talking sense. What is this? You can't talk sense in Star Wars.
Yeah, cut it out. And this really goes on to mention, the Kathleen Kennedy, who of course runs Lucasfilm and certainly what we see in Star Wars, has a pretty serious history of having punch-ups with filmmakers like Solo and Phil Lord and Chris Miller, and how that the whole thing was a debacle and how that led to the quote-unquote death of the Solo, Star Wars, a Star Wars series of films, because they felt Solo wasn't successful enough because it was such a dumpster fire, at least the production of it was. I enjoyed the film, but again, very, very messy. So yeah, I mean, what do you think, guys? Do you think that this calls into question if this project is really going to land, or if we're just going to simply push it further on down the road, like they did with Rogue Squadron, which Mark and I certainly over in Holocron were super fired up about, because we love X-Wing stuff, and especially with the huge success of Top Gun Maverick this summer, like a fighter, a fighter jet movie would probably be a huge success. But I don't know. All of Star Wars on the big screen just seems like you don't know what's going on.
I mean, he's a hot number right now. And so, I mean, according to him, he was saying, I am working on writing a script. I'm working on the idea. And his thing was saying, like, once I pitch it, that's when it gets decided when it's going to be greenlit or not. I think he'd have to do something pretty out there for them not to say, like, yeah, we can make this fit in the lore. So I would say, like, I think that there's still faith. As long as he's still on board to try to create something, I can't see them being like, no, absolutely not, unless he's coming out of left field with something. Like, he's like, I'm going to kill Luke when he's 12. Like,
I love it. What if?
Right. Let's just switch it up a little bit.
It's okay. He's a different Luke.
We found out that Yoda had 85 kids and they all became Jedi Masters.
It wasn't, I'll call back a little bit of EU. It wasn't Luke. It was Luke with 2 U's. There we go. I fixed it. It's a clone.
I want the Star Wars musical or the Star Wars sex romp comedy. And we've already seen that, how awesome it is with seagulls. Stop. I love that. I just want a musical based on that. Can we get it? Yeah, but I mean, you're totally right, and he essentially just picks the projects he wants to do. I mean, I just been finishing up Our Flag Means Death, which is awesome. Him as Blackbird,
so great,
is amazing, so good. And then he does, he was involved with. I think he's still an executive producer on What They Do in the Shadows, which we know is coming out in July. So he can essentially do whatever he wants. He's got enough clout now. I do worry that Star Wars does not like auteurs. They like people sticking within the lines. When you have an auteur, they don't like that because they feel like you have to do these things in Star Wars. And I would love if they just let somebody go fast and loose, because even Rian Johnson, I don't think he went that crazy, but people went crazy when he tried to do something unique and different.
Well, I mean, he did write and direct one of I think it was the season finale of the first Mandalorian episode.
Correct.
For the first Mandalorian season. And that was one of the most well-received episode. So I would argue that I think that he knows how to play within the canon to keep his flavor and his kind of quirky humor and witticisms in there and still make a compelling story.
Right. But, not only Star Wars, being that Marvel is very much the same. Wasn't it Edgar Wright who got... Was it Edgar Wright
with
who
Ant-Man.
got the boot?
Yeah, Edgar Wright with Ant-Man. Yeah, who basically gave everybody the idea of what you can do with Ant-Man, and then what's his name took it over. Yeah,
yeah, it was just it was too edgy. So yeah, it's very by the book, by the box. So Todd, I think you might simply have to accept that Star Wars, it's not going to fit in your box because they're in their own box and the Todd box is over here. So you know what?
Star Wars can only be one thing apparently, and that's okay with the fans.
But well, you know what? You can stick with Katie and me, and you can talk Star Trek over on Code 47.
Oh, absolutely.
Anytime at all. All right, moving on. What do we got next?
Oh, Charlie, you've got a new, well, apparently the 18th different version of Spider-Man, but he's coming back with an old favorite, Mark Bagley.
Yeah, we've got, now I have loved, there has been a portion of the Spider-Verse, called the Spider-Verse. Now it's started as a miniseries back in 2014. It kind of took Spider-Man from your friendly neighborhood, this thing and that thing, fighting the drug dealers and the pickpockets, whatever, to taking it to this big kind of multiverse of madness where you find out that, universes across the multiverse, everyone has a different version of a Spider-Man. Some of them are, there's Spider-Man, which is what if Aunt May became Spider-Man, or what if Uncle Ben became Spider-Man, or what if Spider-Man was literally 1,000 spiders in a suit? So Spider's Man.
Or a J-pop character with a robot spider.
I say it's kind of a what if before they had what if.
It was a monkey, or it's a cat. So anyway, I loved it, but when I really got heavy in the action figure collecting about 8 or 10 years ago, that became my thing because they started cranking out all these Spider-Verse characters. So I have 2 shelves of Spider-Verse characters. So anyway, this headline from CBR.com claims that the Spider-Verse is coming to an end with a new series that we're going to get in October. It's yet another Spider-Man #1. Now, this is not taking the place of Amazing Spider-Man, which also recently renumbered. I mean, Todd, we'd have to do a little research to figure out what volume.
No, Charlie, we're not doing the continuity counting where it's like Spider-Man issue 3,000 or something.
Charlie, that can be your own hyper focus.
Charlie's going to read every episode, every issue, and he's going to be reading that for 3,000 years.
I do need to catch up. But anyway,
as long as we got him to stop reading the Avengers comics, I'm fine with that.
You did, yes.
No leather jackets.
The original, I did peter out in the middle about 1994 or so in continuity, and when it got really bad, and jumped ahead to about 1998.
But Dan Slott's back, right, Charlie, in this comic?
So you got Dan Slott, who is a heritage writer of Spider-Man within the last probably 15 years, and Mark Bagley, who Todd went on a little rampage about, I think, in the last episode or two. We even checked him out on Twitter to make sure that he wasn't going to be coming after Todd, but he's got like 15 followers, so it ends up working out. But Mark Bagley has been a Spider-Man artist in Amazing Spider-Man for probably 30, 35 years. But at any rate, this is set to bring the Spider-Verse to a close. The big villain of the Spider-Verse in general is Morlun. He is
he's back.
Yeah, nobody ever dies. But Morlun he's from basically an aristocratic family of aliens that consumes spider totems, and basically the spider essence, and kills off the Spider-Man.
That's very specific.
It is very
That's
specific.
a very specific diet. It's a really good thing that the Earth made that radioactive spider, or else they would have just died off.
Well, they have to jump between dimensions on this spider of life. There was a series that didn't make it that had to do with 5 of the Spider-Verse characters that had to guard the totem of life and the different ways to travel. It's a whole thing.
This is Patreon content right here, folks.
I know. You're
don't you want people to pay for Patreon?
Exactly, Charlie. Wrap it up.
We're working on it. But at any rate, I will tell you all about it when we get that Patreon going. But at any rate, this could get me back in. I would say I'm kind of interested because you got a creative team that's jumping back in. So fortunately, we have Marvel Unlimited, and I would say, well, I'm going to buy the issues, but I would buy them and not read them for at least 3 months, by which case, as you know, Marvel Unlimited catches up, and I just got that nice little renewal pack, and Katie, I'm giving you one of the comics, and I'm selling the figure. And
getting a Polaris comic. I'm so excited.
Nice. With, I think it's Peach, can't remember the artist's name, but very cool. And like a manga artist, she's great.
Yeah.
Yes.
But anyway,
Peach Tomoko?
Marvel Unlimited, let me give you a plug in Disney. Feel free to send me some money. Best value in comic
They don't even pay their artists. They're not going to pay you.
Oh, come on. Pay me in some Twitter love. But anyway, Spider-Man #1 comes out October 5. So that means on December 5, I will give you a rundown because I will read it.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah. Something else we're going to get a rundown is the fact that an actor that I've loved in The Kingsman is trying to, once again, take a role out of the hands of a North American.
No!
And Taron Egerton, which I really love in The Kingsman. He's great.
Totally.
He's been fantastic. He wants to play Wolverine. And you know what? I could see it. He looks pretty good. And you know what? It doesn't matter what you look like, because Hugh Jackman did not look like Wolverine. And he's too damn tall. Because, Wolverine's like 5'6", 5'4". He's like my height.
5'3".
But it didn't really matter.
Wait, he's 5'3"?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't think that they draw him accurately for that.
They don't. They don't.
If you, I will take a pause and go grab my black and white.
No, we don't need to do that.
My guidebook, and I will look it up for you. But
that's going to be a future Patreon episode too, where Charlie compares the posture and the stature of different Marvel characters. Check out that.
We're really setting it up. This Patreon's coming soon. Don't worry.
We're pitching it.
I'm just saying, as a woman who is 6 feet tall and who often is around, women who are much, much shorter than me, I know what it looks like when someone is very tall and where someone who's about 5'3" hits you when you're 6 feet tall. Wolverine standing next to Cyclops, nope, doesn't work.
I know,
I think
but
Cyclops is a good 5'10".
He'll get the kneecaps just swipe.
Yeah. So I guess you wonder why Wolverine's one of my favorite characters. He's named, my son is Logan, so there you go. Mm-hmm. I'm 5'4", so he's 5'6", a little bit taller than me, so we're already branching out, which is great. But yeah, I mean, Taron Egerton, he's obviously got a British accent. We've heard it, so he's gonna have to change it. I haven't heard him say "bub," so I don't know if he's accurate or not. But we know the X-Men are coming. We know the X-Men are coming. We don't know what they're going to do, how they're going to do it. I don't think they're going to duplicate what we already got. And so with that, I'm really curious, but they're going to have to start casting some actors. So this is going to have to start happening soon. We're going to get maybe at San Diego Comic-Con, maybe they announce there's going to be something with the X-Men, except for that 97 series or Fantastic Four. So I'm excited for this, and I just love it. This goes back, Charlie, to the day, and Katie, back in the day when we didn't have the internet, we had something called Wizard Magazine. Once a month, you got we're hearing rumblings they're going to make a movie, and we're going to cast it. And all they did was pick somebody that looked like somebody. And that was it. You could be a horrible actor, but as long as you look big.
Or not an actor at all.
Oh, yeah. Or Glenn Danzig was supposed to be playing Wolverine. Remember Glenn Danzig from... Come on. From Danzig. So I would love this. I think that's great. I love it. Bring in everybody and anybody. And you know what? We'll see what happens. And I will be happy.
Happy, slappy. Yeah, I'm totally down. Great to get a good actor. Great to get somebody who could obviously. I was remembering the whole spiel for Deadpool 2, when he's saying, we're trying to put a team together, and we needed to be ethically diverse, morally flexible, and able to carry a franchise for 6 to 10 movies. That's what we're looking for here.
Yep.
And you know what, folks? We already got a Wolverine with an Australian accent in the cartoon back in the day in the Pride of the X-Men. So anything is possible, and we don't care.
Oh, my goodness. Well, if I'm not very much mistaken, that's the end of the news. So let me get my phone. Let me get my app to get us down to Scugtown. That's right. Time to go to the Geek Easy, talk about what we're enjoying. So let's go.
Talk nerdy to me. Talk nerdy to me.
We're sitting in the Geek Easy, cover bands playing, drinks are poured, and we are ready to get our nerd on. And this week, we're going to have a good time. You know, this is Thor, it's Miss Marvel, it's Stranger Things, and a certain black phone that scares the poop out of little kids. So let's get moving. So, Katie, you read Miss Marvel, and you're watching it too, and I watched. I'm caught up, and so where are you at on it?
We are caught up, I believe, because the season finale is Wednesday, right? Is that right?
I think there's 2 more episodes. We're in 4. There's 2 more.
4.
Is that 4? Okay.
Yeah, everything is 6 these days with Marvel.
Yeah, I can't remember
with
if this
Disney.
was 5 or 6.
That's the magic
This is
number
4,
of
yeah.
6.
Yeah.
Yep.
This last episode, I would say, wasn't the strongest of the bunch. It seemed like they were cramming a lot of stuff into it. But so far, it has definitely been one of my favorite series. And for me personally, I think watching the opening of the first episode, it was probably the most realistic rendition I have ever seen as far as being a woman who has ADHD and how that has my mind work. And I love that canonically, Kamala has ADHD, so I vibe with her, but I just love the creative directing in it. The story is great. I really don't have beef with how they've changed the characters' powers. For me, it's more of them staying true to the character's character rather than necessarily the backstory. And I feel like this is very much Kamala from the comics versus in the TV show. They could switch characters and it'd still be the same person. So I'm great with that. And then, of course, I wanted to just remember the comics, so I went through and read the entire comic series.
Oh my! How many issues was that?
I know that the second run was 38, and I think the first one was about 19. So I read all of those.
It's so confusing. Why I got Marvel just stopped doing like one drop, then another drop. It's like I don't even know where I stopped. My wife is the same boat. She's like, "Which trade do I need to read?" I'm like, I don't remember. Where did you stop?
I think there was the Origin Miss Marvel that was in 2015, yes. I want to say, and then there's the Fantastic Miss Marvel. I think it was the Fantastic Miss Marvel, and that one was in 2019. I think is when it started. So, but again, I love it. That one has more action with the Red Dagger, so he shows up a little bit more, so you can kind of get a vibe of where he is and what's going on.
Yeah. I was going to say, Katie, because I have not read enough then, because I've only read like the first 2 trades of the original series. Mm-hmm. So the Red Daggers were new to me. I didn't know if they existed, and I mean, I think that was something I was going to bring up. So the Clandestines were brought in, and the Clandestines are this odd little comic that dropped in the mid-90s. Alan Davis brought it in. It was just, and I've read up about like, you know, what it meant. It was basically a young Englishman married a djinn who essentially made him immortal, and his last name was Destin, so he was the clan in Destin. So Destin. So there you go. And he's long lived, and they have children, and they basically become superheroes and things like that. There wasn't the Clandestines going to destroy the world. That was an odd but the djinns could, because that's the thing. But the biggest thing is she wasn't Inhuman in the comics, and Marvel unfortunately had a horrible Inhuman series, which essentially the MCU said, we can't touch the Inhumans again, which I think is just silly. It's like, the Inhumans can still be good, and they were brought in there. And so they changed that. So this series, though, is really good. It feels like it's a really good series about Kamala, Pakistani culture, her family, her heritage, and also tied with like a teen drama in a way. And then they realize, crap, we have to make a Marvel series too. So I feel like the superhero stuff is secondary, which is good, but it's also, we're finding out this is the least watched MCU show, which I get it, because if you're looking for a Marvel tie-in, there's nothing except she likes Miss Marvel. So without that,
and the audience is more narrow, and that's not a bad thing. But it's teen focused, and part of it has the cultural aspect, which maybe not everybody warms up to. But again, Marvel is entering this era where it's not all things to everybody. You know what I mean? it's the Moon Knight was not all things to everybody. There was no connectivity. You know what I mean? Where Loki and Falcon the Winter Soldier, which nobody on Earth likes but me, apparently, because all I hear is people trashing it. And What If, so there was a lot of connectivity, and a lot of it came back around. Where these last two series, they're really not like that. So you could see why perhaps not. But again, we live in this weird streaming world where, a moment ago we were talking about how The Marvels is going to come out in February. What if that's a big hit and it drives people back to watching the show at that time?
I hope so.
How will that be reflected? How will we know? Because all of these shows so far have been made as kind of one-offs. They're not really looking to have another season of the Loki didn't end in a good place where it almost really demanded a sequel season. And who knows, it's not been talked about if that's really going to go down, or simply is the mantra that things will simply be continued on in an overarching story arc within something else.
Well, and that's kind of what it seems like Marvel is doing and Disney is doing with these TV shows, is that it's not so much about making a big blockbuster or a showstopper within itself. It is, hey, we need to connect these two larger franchises or these two larger points. And instead of making a whole movie about it, we're going to make a mini series that is going to connect the dots. So when Miss Marvel shows up in the Marvels, everybody's not like, who the heck is this? They can go back and go, oh yeah, okay, she showed up here and that's great. So I know that a lot of the problem is, the comic itself, like Miss Marvel and Kamala have always been kind of a contentious character. She's always gotten a lot of flack, which is stupid in my opinion. She's one of my favorite characters. So it didn't surprise me when it wasn't as well received. But I think a lot of people just need to give it a shot, because again, I think the directing and the storytelling in it is absolutely fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of my good friends is Pakistani, and I've been meaning. And he's not he likes the movies. He doesn't watch the TV shows. So I've been meaning to tell him, hey, you should check this out, because I remember when he was getting, his brother was going to get married. He was getting married, and he just got married as well. And it's the whole culture of like the marriage and these different things. They're dealing with like the partition and the history of Pakistan and India and all these things. It's a lot of issues, and so for a lot of people, it can be a lot. This isn't light material either. It's like there's a lot to grab, and my wife is loving it because it's kind of telling its own story. And it's not like saying you have had to watch 85 shows and you've had to watch 85 movies. It's just like, hey, she's tied to Miss Marvel or Captain Marvel, and enjoy it. So I think it's a really good show, but I can understand if you're just waiting for the Marvel connections, you're not getting it, and that's okay. But for a lot of people, that's why they like the MCU, because who's showing up at the end of the show? Where's the spoiler? What's going to happen? It's a different take. In a lot of ways, it's my own take with Star Wars and with canon. And people say, "Oh, I don't care about canon. It's great." I like something I can wrap my arms around, and I think there's fair amount of people out there who kind of feel the way that I do. I like to feel like I have a control of, well, I have a way to know what happened where and what did this mean, or whatever it is. And Marvel really does provide that. But again, outside of what we've even seen in the TV that's now happening with Moon Knight and now with Miss Marvel, where it's really standalone, maybe that's less of an appeal. I don't know. Time will tell. I really hope, like I said, when Marvels comes out early next year, it's a big hit, and then it leads people back to this. Absolutely, yeah. And it's great because you can just watch this as a 6-episode series and feel like it's great. Like I said, you don't have to watch anything else Marvel to enjoy this, which is great.
Right.
It has very much Turning Red vibes for me. Like that's what I keep reminding.
Which I need to see. My son and my daughter watched it already without me, so I feel a little bit betrayed. So I will watch it.
Did you just say your son and your daughter? Do you have a daughter you never?
My son and my wife. Sorry, my son and my wife watched it already without me. More sense. And I always say, do you want to watch this with me first? So I feel like, you're just not respecting me.
Lame. All right, for sake of time, let's keep moving. Katie, what else you got?
Yes, I've been reading Lady Thor just to prep myself for Thor Love and Thunder. And obviously, I read through the comics we were talking about today, The God of Thunder, and then Strange New Worlds, episode 9. I will save those thoughts, though, for Code 47. So if you want to hear me geek out about that, you will have to. I know.
So much.
That's how you drop the content.
I will be guest appearing because I'm not doing the full episodes. I have Peter, who's amazing, who's taking over for Enterprise for me because I don't want to watch that. I love Star Trek. Don't want to watch it. But
Right.
I can't keep away for talking about my Strange New Worlds because it is.
You know, and
so
we
good.
even to tease this episode, and again, this episode drops Friday. The following Monday will be Code 47. Katie and Peter have very contrasting opinions about episode 9, but we'll also be talking about episode 10, which is the season finale. And we're going to do kind of a very brief run through and pick a favorite of episodes 1 through 10. I just started rewatching it again today, but just super brief. So it's going to be kind of a king-sized episode, but again, Strange New Worlds, I will say without a doubt, is the very best thing that's been, in my opinion, that's been produced since the 2017 relaunch of the franchise. The beginning of the second golden era. I absolutely love Strange New Worlds. Just got, and again, I don't talk about cosplay, but I did just get and I draw pictures on socials everywhere. My Captain Pike is now out there working on the hair.
Doing like deep fakes of Captain Pike on you, Charlie. I'm a little nervous. Captain Pike, Anson Mount. Restraining order, please.
Anson Mount and I have met, and he even wrote in the signed picture I get him, Charlie, all my respect, Anson Mount. It's on the wall in my house. I'll take a picture of it. But yes, blink twice if you're being held against your will. But anyway, very excited to talk about that. But anyway,
good. Yeah, I was going to say one really quick before you move on, Katie. The whole, like I talked about with Miss Marvel, Thor is the same way. It's like, holy crap, Thor, get your stuff together, because I'm trying to remember which series is which, because I've read a few of them because I love Thor, but I haven't read them all. So I'm like, I'm so confused. Which one am I supposed to read first? So it's crazy.
Yes. I mean, Marvel Unlimited does help in certain extents, and then it also makes it 10 times worse because you can't look at a series easily. I'm like, I want to just look up a character and then see chronologically what I should be reading.
Where they appear, where you should read it. Yep.
They just show the issues instead of being like, this is a series and this is and I'm like, what is happening? How do I find this?
It's too much. Too much.
It's not as bad as DC Unlimited or whatever DC's thing is.
Yeah.
I have to look there. Yeah, I haven't dug
that's a low bar.
Yeah, right. Exactly correct. All right, let me. I'll take this over real quick, and I'll do a quick touch. Todd and I, you and I have talked in the last couple.
Charlie,
weeks
do Lost first, then we'll do the Black Phone that'll lead in me.
Why? I was going to do that if you would.
Oh, okay.
If you would have a big cup of Zip It. Yes, April.
I'm just here to listen to you bicker.
Yes. Yeah. Well, Todd and I have been together for almost 30 years.
And together like an old married couple. We barely tolerate each other.
Since 1995. But anyway, yeah, April and I have been watching Lost. We are on the season finale of season 3. It ran for 6 seasons, and I know the last couple seasons were abbreviated. We're glued to it. I mean, it's funny because it's 4th of July weekend. We have a set grouping of movies that we watch. We always watch like Independence Day and Captain America, the first one, or whatever it is. But we've been kind of shelving a lot of that because we really just want to watch Lost because it's just absolutely sucks you in. And we're at the end of season 3 where they're in the underground station, and Charlie dies. Sorry, spoiler from a show from.
Do I need to write something on my hand?
What's that?
Do I need to write something on my hand?
Yes, yeah, he says blah 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 this and that, and it's just you never know what the hell's going on with this show because you've got Michael Emerson is Benjamin Linus, and you never know where he's going or what, and he takes him to the cabin with Jacob, and Jacob is a guy in a chair, and you thought, oh god, he's just crazy. There's just so damn much in this show. So,
smoke monsters, polar bears, islands, Locke,
right. Yeah, Locke and the church and the radio tower and the Dharma Initiative and the others, and oh my god, there's just so much. If you never watched the show, it's on Hulu. It's 120 episodes, so yeah, it's a bit of a trek, but it's absolutely worth it. But Todd, as you said, the show, particularly because of the writer's strike back in 2008, really lost some steam. We haven't gotten to that point yet, so we've kind of seen kind of the golden era of it, and it's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, it's a show where it's like as soon, like I watched the first season religiously. I fell off, and then a lot of things happened where they just felt like the writers felt like they didn't have an endpoint because ABC just wanted to crank out more content. They're like, this is just going to dilute the content. We're not going to know we're going to get there, and it's just like The Walking Dead. So once ABC told them, we're allowing you to end the show by a date, the writer's like, all right, game on. We can actually make the best content with the amount of episodes remaining. And that really triggered fantastic Lost. So I watched a recap of, I think, like season 2 and 3, and I jumped in with 4. And I was so happy because, you know what? After watching the recap, I'm like, not a lot happened. It wasn't very good. And I jumped into when it was good again. I feel like, you know what? There's too much media now. You have to respect what's good and don't worry about having it all because it's not going to add much to it. It's not going to add enough like, oh, I missed that, so it's not going to be great. Right. So I think you really should just enjoy what the best of is versus all of it. Kind of like no Avengers leather jackets.
No Avengers. Katie,
Yes.
Katie, did you ever watch Lost?
I did not. I actually worked at Best Buy while it was coming out. And I got kind of turned off to the entire idea of it because that's all anyone talked about was like, and they were reading like this is when like Reddit started getting big and there were all these forums and there was research and all this other stuff.
No.
And I'm like, if I have to read recaps after watching an episode to figure out what happened, I want nothing to do with this show.
Fair.
I've got a clarifying question. Katie, do you still have a Best Buy discount?
I don't.
Oh, geez. Oh, yeah. Beware the cheapest man in the world. Don't talk to him about that shit. Oh my God.
I need a new TV.
Oh my God. You need a set. Yeah. I'd say you just bought a new TV, but you got a new house. I totally
That was 6 years ago, Charlie.
No, you bought a new TV. It wasn't 6 years ago.
It was 2016 when I sold those comics off, Charlie. That's how old we are.
Really? Oh my God. No, I thought you bought your big TV like 2 or 3 years ago. But anyway.
6 years.
Okay, moving along. Todd and I both saw a film, so we'll kind of tag team this shit. But it was The Black Phone, which it was a period piece suspense horror film, which I didn't realize until the credits were rolling at the beginning. It was written by Joe Hill, the son of Stephen King. So instantly, that is April's Will Well. She loves Stephen King, always has. So anyway, Black Phone, Joe Hill, we were definitely dialed in. Set in 1978, has to do with neighborhood in Denver. There is someone called the Grabber who's abducting kids and whatever it is. And, it's happening bit by bit. We have a brother and a sister who come from a rough family situation. Their mother has passed. Their dad is a drinker, and their home life is not very happy. Well, the son, as I said, it's a brother and a sister. The brother is older. His name is Finney. He's watching friends of his get nabbed, disappear under mysterious circumstances, and eventually, unfortunately, it happens to him. And he ends up in this locked room in a scary basement with just a mattress and a toilet in the next room, and a phone on the wall that's non-functional. That in time starts ringing. And he's like, oh, I must be cracking up. And again, he's a teenage kid. He's 13, 14, whatever it is. He picks his phone up, and as it turns out, it is the voices of the past victims speaking to him and giving him clues about his situation and how he can fight back against this crazy dude who wears a crazy mask, who's played by Ethan Hawke in this movie. Todd, it was wild. And again, I know that you don't dig on the horror films. You say you get scared kind of easily.
I like them. I'm just very scared by them. I'm okay with that.
And again,
I'm a wimp. I get it.
This was, and Katie, I know you definitely don't do horror, so I totally get it. But this was more the suspense piece, I think, because there really wasn't a lot of gore, I don't think, in my opinion. But no. It was just really more of those kind of the psychological thriller. I thought they did very well. I liked it. It was longer. I don't know if I would say it was longer than I thought it needed to be, but it was long. But I think they did a lot with the time that they had, without a doubt. I don't think a lot of time was wasted, but we enjoyed it very much. And yeah, I would highly recommend it. This is out in theaters now. Go see it, because again, Todd and I might have overestimated it in our summer movie wager. We needed to do well.
I did not, Charlie. You put it on your black horse. I did, or dark horse.
My dark horse, yeah. It's not on your list at all.
I don't think so.
Okay,
and I was thinking, and there's actually a lost connection in this, Charlie.
Okay.
So Daniel is the dad.
Daniel is, that is exactly correct. Oh, you said lost connection, and I'm like, what is it lost to? Oh, you mean the show?
The dad, the father
who we were just talking about.
Yes.
No, and I said that to April. I said, oh, that dude was on Lost, but that's in season 4, so we haven't gotten there yet.
Correct. Yes, he is a hot mess in this movie, but Daniel is a very cool guy. Yeah, there was a Lost connection, so it's like the 6 degrees of Lost. It's here. This, and I told my wife.
Todd, just a clarification. Black Phone is my number 10, but it is your dark horse.
Okay, so maybe it'll show up. We'll see.
Yeah.
But my wife is a fan of like these like crime serial killers, and this is not a horror film. This is a kid taken by a real life. It feels like a real life serial killer, and the connection. There are some supernatural elements in regards to the phone and also the sister. I would say this movie, it's all made real by this brother-sister kid connection, where the brother who gets kidnapped, his sister, who unfortunately has to deal with the dad, who's kind of a hot mess, she has dreams that lead the cops with clues. And I think this film was excellent. It did put me on edge, but there wasn't a supernatural element with the bad guy. It was just the elements around it. So this felt like one of those like shows that you see now, like the true crime shows. It feels like that, but it was really well done. I really liked it. Scott Derrickson has teamed up with Ethan Hawke before, who was the bad guy I think it was, what's the name of the movie? Charlie, you've seen them all.
The Purge movies?
No, it was the other one. It was not the suspense. I can't remember the name of it. Oh, well, it doesn't matter. But if you like more thriller than horror, this definitely was. And there was one moment that I just thought was funny. The brother of a character just, it totally didn't fit the narrative of the film, but I did like it because it did break up the tension. He was almost like a palate cleanser.
What were you referring to exactly?
All I could say is the guy he was like the conspiracy theory guy.
You know what? I would have to look up who the brother was too, because it was
just if you haven't watched it, but I would say he was the palate cleanser because he was a goofball and it was very funny.
Exactly. Yes. But yeah, cool movie, and I highly recommend it. So anyway, Todd, moving on. You've seen Stranger Things, but you haven't seen the end of it. Katie, are you caught up on Stranger Things? Are you a fan, or do you watch it at all?
I watched the first season, and then
Gotcha.
honestly, I'm gonna admit I was a little bored with it.
Okay,
So,
that's cool.
Yep.
Respect.
Yeah. So I haven't watched it since, but Aaron watches it, and then I occasionally hear about it.
Okay. Yeah, I think there's a bit of like nostalgia to this series regardless, but they aren't the ones that like remember the 80s. Here's the 80s. They do a pretty good job of just like you're in the 80s and there's the things around it. I love this series, and I feel like it's a series where I feel like, oh, they can't do better than season 1. They can do better than season 2. And I kind of keep like how do they do this? Well, time and money and no pressure to actually deliver on a timeline has allowed them to deliver a series, which ultimately you always say like no editors can make a crappy series like, George Lucas with no Yes Men. With Yes Men makes, the original, the prequel trilogy. But with this, I'm like, wow, they had the time to really tell the story they wanted to. And I have one episode left. But Charlie, as to your point, this season is ridiculously long. Like the last episode was 90 minutes. The last episode of the season is going to be 2 hours and 20 minutes, 2:30. So
almost 2:30,
movie length. Yeah, so this is a commitment.
And and I would say they made good use of it. And I'm bad. I have ADD just like you do, Katie. So I'm like looking at my phone, and I'm doing shit for the network on my laptop.
If you put the phone in the other room, Charlie,
I'm like, I gotta close the.
That doesn't help. You're gonna need to find something else to do.
Yeah, I need to close.
I'm the same way. I'm the same way. I'm a guy that.
I get to the point I got to close that laptop down because there's so much shit going on in that last segment where they're like, we're gonna get Vecna, and we've got to do this and this piece. It's like Lost. There's chess pieces in play. And
absolutely, 4 storylines.
Yeah, and
things are happening.
I'm like, I got to put my shit aside because I'm not going to get like they're after Max, and why?
You have to watch it. You can't just not pay attention. And I love that because they're saying you can't just not focus on it on entertainment. If you don't, then it's essentially disposable. It's comfort food. It's like it's like yacht rock in the background. It's like it's elevator music. So I like that they are doing that.
Hey. Don't talk about yacht rock that way.
Oh, no. My wife is constantly playing the channel. I've listened to every yacht rock song.
I was going to say, if you're going to disrespect Air Supply plus Christopher Cross plus Rick
Kenny
Springfield
Loggins,
plus Toto plus Kenny Loggins, that's not going to fly with me.
No. But I mean, I will say the only downfall of this series so far has been the plot line with Will. the brother, the pizza guy.
And their voyage
and Mike, it just feels like it's empty, and it just feels like that is the point that feels like it's not delivering.
Well,
it's going to be. We get that,
right?
But it took the full series to finally give them any sense of like.
Well, they had to connect because they had to go, and then they had to find 11, and then you'll see in the final episode how that connects up with the final battle, and then what ends up happening in the end. I mean, just go and watch it, and then I bet we'll talk about it next week.
Absolutely, I just love the fact
Katie will do a lot of. Okay,
yes, she will.
I like it. That's great.
Yes.
Yep,
she'll mute herself, and she'll be like, "What the fuck is that?"
But if you were watching Stranger Things, and I think it's one of the better shows on TV because it takes its time. It tells a story, and it's been really fun. Characters are great. Some storylines are less awesome than others. But we got Robert Englund, and that's been fantastic. We got Matthew Modine back. It's been great. Right. We got Paul Reiser. That's really been good.
They 80s it up like nobody's business. That's for sure.
Absolutely. And then, at this point, we don't know how the show's going to end. I've been trying to avoid spoilers because, Charlie, apparently you just are amid the spoiler minefield because you look for spoilers. I haven't got them, and I'm just avoiding them.
I would say, particularly when I'm running through, I'm trying to share content both on Facebook and on Twitter and in other ways for the network, that shit is just going to catch me. And again, with ADD, Katie, I know you can appreciate this. You're like, my phone, it's doing stuff. Put it away.
Yep.
I've only been spoiled once, and it was actually on a podcast. I've never been spoiled by social media on anything because I just avoid it. So.
Fantastic. Well, you know what? Let's avoid our way out of the news because it's all said and done. But really, it's time to get out the phone yet again. Get that Air Qantas app up. Get that flight down to the land down under. That's right. Time for the Thunderdome. The mutants are awaiting.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome.
Thank you, Tina. We're sitting in the Thunderdome where the mutants have been gathered for a topic or game to be entertained. And this week we're talking all about Thor God of Thunder. Yes, I said Thunder because Thor is fun, folks. Check it out.
Yes,
it was fun. I don't know if he had fun in this one.
Yeah, not so much fun.
He had 3 different time periods in which to not have fun. But in fairness,
he had some fun.
In the first couple of pages, he was having fun with the drinking and the whoring and the whatever. He had a lot of fun.
Plundering. Yeah. He's a good Norse god. Yeah, so Thor, we're talking about getting preparation for Thor, Love and Thunder, which is coming out next week at the box office, which is very fun. So we're exploring the comic that actually inspired the movie. And this is from Thor, God of Thunder, Volume 2013, issues 1 through 6. 1 through 5 is the first trade paperback, but if you get to 6, you get to wrap up a little bit of the question of who the antagonist is. So we'll start there. So Thor God of Thunder came out in 2013. It's written by Jason Aaron and penciled by Esad Rebic. And this guy is really amazing. I can't remember when he actually debuted. His art is painterly. It's beautiful. It's thin lines with a lot of just beauty. It almost feels like someone is just like he's just making love to the page.
Did he do Gillian's run of Eternals? Because that had a very similar.
I think he did.
Yeah, because they recognize that.
If not remarkably similar, I would agree. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so this really picks up in where I would say Jason Aaron is one of the better comic writers. And when he's involved in a comic, he's going to do something different with it and give the characters care and take it in a place they haven't been before. And I would say with Thor, I go way back with Thor. And Thor really has been a character who has not had the status quo. He's always been changing. He was a frog, by God. At one point, he is not a character of like, we just only do this type of story. So I think he's always a character where you can try things and tell different stories. I mean, we've had, Asgard was brought to Earth. We've had Asgard all over the place. We had the World Tree almost kill the Earth. I mean, so there's been many different stories. And with Norse mythology loosely impaled upon the world of Marvel, we always get interesting stories. So this story is essentially Thor living in different time frames as Thor, encountering a force that kills gods. So Gorr, the god butcher, who doesn't just prepare like deli meats for the gods, says, I will make you a thin bordadella. I will make you some make you some
two R's, not an E. So Gorr.
So the god butcher. So it was very imperative that when I got through the first volume, I said read the 6th issue.
Right.
Because that gives you some context of where we're at with this character, because this is a really cool series. Essentially, Thor living in like 800 AD with some Vikings. Then we have Thor in modern day.
That's your people, Todd, the Vikings.
Yeah, we have Vikings. Myself, I can show my Mjolnir tattoo. So there you go, folks. Go to YouTube and see that. Thanks skin on Todd. Yeah, because my OnlyFans page is ready to go with my flesh. And then we get Thor at the end of the road, which is very cool, where he's kind of owned. So this is kind of like taking Thor in different time frames as he basically goes after the boogeyman of the gods, which I thought was a really cool concept. So I will leave it there and go to, at this point, Katie, what'd you think of this series?
I liked it so much I didn't stop reading at 6.
Of course not.
I can't just stop reading a story once I started, and especially after reading 6, I really enjoyed Gorr as just a character, and I honestly couldn't fault him for where he was going with it, because like you have Thanos, who's kind of got this, if you just kill half of the world and then everything will be fine, and you're like,
sure, why not?
Except for there's limited resources and people populate, like that doesn't make any sense, dude, come on. But Gorr, from a philosophical standpoint of saying, the gods fail us, we are there on a whim and we are subject to their whim. It doesn't matter what you do, because if they don't want to help you, they're just not going to, and so you're just going to suffer needlessly and do all of these things. And at one point I think this might have been later, where he says something about how if you get rid of the gods, then there's, no religious wars, there's no subjugation based on religion, and everyone can just enjoy the time they have on the planet. And I was like, you know what? I can't argue with that. I kind of dig that idea. So, kind of a really great kind of attraction repulsion, which he has a very sympathetic idea, but is also incredibly brutalistic. And the way that he enacts violence and the enjoyment that he gets out of it. So I thought it was a very, very compelling story. I really loved seeing the ways in which the Thors interacted, as far as like the storylines kind of had a through line regardless of where you were at, and you could start seeing them kind of building into this culmination. And I'm really, really interested to see how they play this story out on the big screen in the MCU. I will say my one fear is that they might take that idea of doing like 3 different Thor timelines and instead make it so that they're going to work off of the multiverse and have Lady Thor come in as one of those alternates. And that'll really bum me out, because I want Lady Thor as a mainstay in the MCU and not kind of a one-off for this movie.
I agree. I didn't really get a vibe, and again, from the trailers, you can't really tell,
right?
That they were going to do any kind of diversification in the multiverse, or to do like a jump forward, jump backwards. I have a quote, and again, I wanted to jump in, and Katie, you'll appreciate this, from Klingon lore. There was a quote in DS9 where they're all standing around, and Kira said it, talking about gods and this and that. It was Kira and O'Brien and Worf, and said, Klingons have no gods. We killed them. They were more trouble than they were worth.
Yes.
Good
yes.
Quote.
Very Klingon method. Very Klingon methodology. But I didn't get that vibe. I got the vibe that, again, the film will simply take the character and his motivation and play it forward, but I don't necessarily see it. Again, I feel like looking at the film, like the Guardians of the Galaxy, I feel like we're going to get about 20 minutes of them and they're going to go away.
Right.
I don't really feel like it's going to be a big part of the film. But yeah, and the rest of it is going to be about fighting this, fighting Gore and fighting Christian Bale with no makeup. Because what was the deal? He wouldn't wear any makeup. He was just like
so lame. He's like, I'm just going to put white on my face versus look like an alien, which I'm like, that's lame. Because Gore is kind of cool looking, especially with the shadows around him and things.
And why did you cast him at that point? Like, if he wasn't going to agree to the look that you wanted of that character, and then be like, okay, like then you
see you later, Gator.
That's part of
it makes even less sense because they weren't really looking for him to drive the. And again, we're going to talk about the film next week, the three of us, but they weren't really looking for him to be like, oh, I got to see Christian Bale in a Marvel movie. No, you're like, I'm going to see Thor because it's Thor and the Guardians are in it, and I love the Guardians
and Lady Thor.
And
exactly.
Exactly. The mighty Thor, who's Jane. Right. Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing Christian Bale's rendition of him because I think that he's played characters in the past that have this same kind of like villainy to them.
Yes.
Right.
But it wouldn't have been a requirement where I would have been like, who can play that? Who could have done that better? Christian Bale.
Exactly.
He has to be like in the makeup for like 8 years. He has to be in the makeup for like a movie, which is 2 hours long, which means do your scenes and actually look more than just a pale white dude like Powder. Do you remember that movie?
You stole my reference because I had it on tip of my tongue. But anyway, we should probably steer it back because we're going to have this conversation.
But this comic was great. I mean, I think it was fantastic. And Jason Aaron, this kind of kickstarted the whole line of Thor where we got Jane Foster and what her travails. And we got all these different stories with Thor. And I loved, in the one series I loved, which was Thor dealing with a lot of different dealing as the king of Asgard because Odin drops out. So I think this is a good place to start your love of Thor versus other storylines weren't as good.
And a great dichotomy between Thor in his various stages of evolution where, 800 years ago, he was man-whore Thor, if you like it for a bit. There's your title. There's your title for the episode, where he's whoring and drinking, whatever it is. And then you've got modern day Thor, where he's an Avenger. You see Tony Stark in the mix, and so he's realizing that he's a team player, and maybe there's some ways that he can, work in order to solve this issue just outside of himself. And then you see him, as an ancient old man, bitter, broken. Asgard is destroyed. He has nothing left to gain, nothing left to lose. And really what that means and how he chooses to interact with Gore in these different time frames. So it ends in the end with, Gore in issue 5 walking into his bloodbath of transformation. And again, I didn't sit down and do it in one reading. I'm bad. I read my comics, and I used to read every like 9 o'clock. I'm like, we're turning off the TV and I'm going to read for an hour. I haven't done that in a long time. So I read them when I go to BioLife because I do plasma donation. And so it's really broken up over like 3 weeks that I'm reading this, and that's really shitty.
I sat in the front of the couch and I read it for like an hour, Charlie. It's possible.
I know, but you just have to. I think when the last time is, and again, we're coming up on the time again where the three of us are going to have to read comics from the comic cover land. And like I had to slam all those, so I was more focused on those. So that might have to be my new methodology around doing this. But it seemed like at the end of this, like the bad guy got away, but it was setting it up for an eventual confrontation on down the road.
Yeah. And that's why I said read the 6th issue, because we got kind of more Gore's motivation, what brought him towards it. And I felt like that kind of added a kind of a natural end to understand why, which is good. Because if you only ended at 5, I felt like there was more to be told. At this point, it's like, okay, we get his motivation. Now you can read more and feel like understanding where this is going to go. Now the movie, we'll talk about that. That's a lot to lift. And I'm sure Taika said, we can't cover it all. We're going to make the best of what we got with it. 2 hours and 30 minutes.
Excellent. Well, I look forward to that. But again, Thor has never been seriously my guy outside of the Avengers comics, but this was a nice dive with a pair of great creators, which makes really, especially in modern parlance, any comic really stick. So I think this really did it. So yeah, I would recommend it to anyone. Again, it's available as a trade on Comixology if you happen to have an unlimited subscription, or if you have Marvel Unlimited, which I know that we all do. And Todd is trying to show us his shirt, which is
full of Norse mythology. Speaking on Balder and his mother.
And that's Todd's background, or as my brother referred to him during their time in the Air Force, the littlest Viking. That's Todd.
That's right.
Good stuff. But with that, that's kind of the end of our program. So, very excited. We'll be back next week. We'll be talking about Thor Love and Thunder, which I know we'll all have seen by that time. That comes out next Thursday, which is crazy. I was talking with a friend of mine. We're seeing it on Thursday at 3 p.m. So the old, see a midnight showing the day before has now turned into 3 p.m. It's so weird.
People don't have jobs, apparently.
It's so weird. Well, in the post-COVID world, they're just trying to get all the showings they can. But at any rate, we'll be talking about that. But Katie, where can people find you out there on the socials?
You can find me at on Twitter at QTGeek. That is Q_T Geek. And you can find me on Twitter, or on Instagram, at Quintessential Geek.
Excellent. And Todd, what about you?
You can follow me at Twitter at Toxtra, where I'm having the fun on the interwebs with the folks talking about our podcast and the world of nerd and video games, etc. And I'm talking about our YouTube page at, I guess it's Secret Friends Unite is our custom URL. I'll figure that out eventually.
Yes.
But that's where you can see us talk about the world of nerd, and then subscribe to our podcasts on whatever you use. And our RSS feeds now will have places at secretfriendsunite.com.
Absolutely correct. And me, of course, you can find me over on Twitter at the C3. Please spell it out. The wife and I run the USS Grand Petoskey. That is the West Michigan chapter of the Star Trek International Fan Club. You can, of course, find me with Katie and Peter over on Code 47 on this very network. And I do try to populate the Secret Friends Unite Facebook and Twitter feeds when I can with content, so pay attention to those as well. Friends, thank you as always for joining us. I'm going to tell you that sharing is caring, and to keep on trucking.
And wherever you go, go boldly.
Be the hero, not the villain.
In the truck.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow at Secret Friends U on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.